All right, hello everybody, and welcome to episode 9, Addict in the Attic, or there's an addict in the attic. All right, hold on one second here. I'm trying to set something up. All right, so anyway, uh, I'm just wanted to talk about what's going on a little bit right now in my immediate life. So I'm going to see King Kong versus Godzilla tonight. I'm looking forward to that. I heard about a lot of inner Earth stuff is in there, so I'm looking forward to seeing that with my girlfriend and my daughter tonight. Going to a drive-in, so we don't even have to go inside. So it's a drive-in theater, old school. That's going to be a good time. Yeah, that and there's also all these loud booms that are going on. I don't know what they are. Maybe people blowing up trees. They're clearing stuff out. Or there's an army base not too far away. But these booms are going on all night long, loud as can be. I don't know if the microphone will pick it up or not. It might, but it's just crazy. It sends the dogs going crazy too at times. So maybe the dogs might be barking at some points because of it. I don't know. I hope not. I don't know that they haven't been too bad lately uh, during the show anyway. Yeah, so that's going on, and there's so many synchronicities happening in the last few days of my life. Just craziness. I listen to podcasts all day long while I work. I listen to music often, but I listen to podcasts mostly. So when I'm listening to the podcast, it's just sometimes people click with me. Now, I generally like all the podcasts I listen to, or I wouldn't listen to them anyway. But usually, after listening to a podcast, I've been listening to podcasts for a few years now, and usually I don't have the feel the urge or the need to reach out to somebody and tell them how good I think that they are, and because that I like their show or whatever. Usually I just would like something, but this last few days, these people that I just keep just now finding talking about all the same stuff that I've come to be into as well, for a while now, and I didn't know any of them existed, and here they are. And it's like all these synchronicities line up like crazy when I'm listening to them. So things have just been really cool and really accelerating. Like yesterday, like for someone who doesn't know what a synchronicity is, that's just when things start syncing up in your life in different ways that are very strange. Maybe you turn off, you arrive home at the exact second that a song ends, and you turn off the engine right as the song ends. Happens to me every single day. And it's not that I purposely do it, because when you purposely try to sync it up, so it's when it starts happening to you, okay, and it will eventually, if it hasn't already, it will start happening to you. Like if you've come to my podcast, it's going to start happening to you. And at certain points, you try to sync things up because you see them happening. So then you try to make them happen. And it's not just with music and arriving somewhere, but it's with everything. Like you'll be like today, I was on Facebook and I'm just scrolling through, or I had a notification. I click on it and it said like people posted on this one Facebook group I'm in. So I scroll down and I see this picture that I've never seen before. It's pretty cool. I've seen the idea of it before, but never that one. So I didn't stop and look at it. And then I go on Twitter, because I just made a Twitter for the show, which my handle is at Great Chakra. So, you can check that out if you're interested. If you have a Twitter, you should, find me on there. I will be tweeting a little bit. I used to have a Twitter account, but whatever. This is a brand new one. So anyway, I'm on there and I wanted to look up somebody. So I made the Twitter last night, and I heard someone on a podcast yesterday who I wanted to look up on Twitter. So right after I'm on Facebook and I see that picture, I go on Twitter and I'm like, oh yeah, I want to go find that guy. So I go back to Facebook I forget whose page I got him from, but I didn't go to Facebook. I went to the podcast, got the link, went back to Twitter, and his pinned tweet, I go into that just to, get a feel for him a little bit more. And the second tweet is the picture that I just saw, but the pinned tweet is from March 25th. You see, and it was yesterday that I heard this guy, but it wasn't until last night that I had Twitter. And it wasn't until after I saw that picture that I finally remembered to get his handle, so that would happen that way. It's called a synchronicity. It's not coincidence. And that's what happens in your life all the time. It's just our level of awareness to it becomes, whether you're more aware of it. It's the only real way to say it. But those types of things start to happen to you at some point in your life, and you either pay attention to them or you don't. And that's kind of relates to what I'm going to talk about today, as being an addict. But I'll get into that in a few minutes here. But these synchronicities, so that's what a synchronicity is. And those types of things are occurring with everyone all the time, and they ramp up at different parts. And it's just so many things align. It's, the planets align to make things happen. It's like you bend the reality of timelines and you unlock new levels that you get to, and you're all of a sudden you're just led down this path. And the more you trust the path, the easier life becomes, the better life becomes. And it's so simple just to give up your ego. It's like you just give yourself over and your idea of what you want to what your inner child, what your inner self, your higher self, your true self, your God self, whatever, the best version of you exists somewhere. Listen to it. It's called your conscience. I haven't really talked much about spirituality or Jesus Christ or God or Buddha or Krishna or anyone else just yet. Okay. And I'm not going to ever push someone into believing a specific thing. All I can do, because, anyone will believe what anyone wants to believe. Right? But I can share my experiences with you, my visions with you, and you can take in that information. And if you have experiences, whatever experience you have is what you're gonna, that's what you're gonna go with. That's all you really know is what you experience. If you don't experience it, you don't know it to be true. So you can't definitively believe someone unless you've experienced it, which is a synchronicity. You can't understand what a synchronicity is until you experience it. And you don't understand what addiction is until you experience it. But it was experiencing the addiction that made me understand it in a way that made me see that everything that we do is an addiction. Everything we do is karma. Everything we do is a cycle. Okay. And, I might as well just start getting into the show now. Yeah. So, I was an addict for 10 years, what a traditional person would call an addict. Uh, I would pop pills. My life revolved around uh, Percocet mostly, but really anything that, if Percocet wasn't around, I would go get what I wanted, a substitute. Go get what I could: Xanax, Suboxone, Klonopin. Uh, I did a lot of different drugs. I did ecstasy a bunch of times as a 16-year-old. Uh, I drank all the time. I smoked weed a lot. I did everything. I ran, other than I never did heroin, cocaine, or meth or crack. Thank God I never did those. I did, well, whatever. That's not important because it's, I never did any of those other drugs. That's not what I was going to say. What I was going to say was another drug that I did do. But that's not important because that was not, I only did it the one time and it was gross. So I never did it again. But all of these uh, drugs were taken by me because I was running from the truth. That's ultimately what it comes down to. And that's ultimately what all of our addictions are. Okay. So, how, I just laid out there that I said everything is an addiction, everything we do. What does that even mean? How can that be true? How is that explained? We eat 3 times a day because we're addicted to eating at certain times a day. We sleep at night at certain times a day. We get tired because we're addicted to going to sleep at that time. We go to work at certain times of the day or wake up at certain times of the day because we're addicted to it. Not necessarily the work part, the waking up for work. Once you're used to waking up at a certain time every day, then you're addicted to waking up at around that time every day. And if you don't wake up at that time, you feel off, you feel strange. Okay. So everything you do is an addiction. It's just how you treat it and how you let it wear you or you wear it. So let me give an example. I used to smoke cigarettes. I drank. I was overweight. I had all these different traditional addictions that I've overcome now. Because what happens is and this, to me would be the idea behind Lent, is you give something up for a certain period of time, 30 to 40 days. Or, Lent is actually like 46 days. But, that doesn't really matter. It's just having 30 to 40 days is an important time to give up something for. Because if it's meant for you, then it'll come back to you in a better way. And if it's not meant for you, then it won't come back to you. And it's a very, very good practice to do with everything. Check yourself always. We get lost in ourselves all the time. So, I gave up coffee. I gave up weed. I gave up, these were recent things, that I gave up for certain periods of time. And then they don't come back to me, or they come back to me in a much better, different way. Like coffee, I was addicted to it. So I stopped drinking it. And it was hard. It was hard to give up. And this was before I got my job. And I gave up weed at the same time because I felt that smoking weed and was making me more tired in the morning. So then I needed to drink the coffee. But then at night, I'm now more wired from drinking the coffee. So now I need to smoke to come down. So it was one was assisting the other. And so this was back, I guess, in like October or something, that I gave them up for 30 30 to 40 days, and I got my job in that time frame. And so then coffee comes back to me, and now I don't need it all the time. I don't need it ever. I don't drink it before, so I have a routine in the morning, because obviously I'm addicted to my routine, just like anybody else. You get a routine of something, and that's just what it is from that point on. So what my routine is, I do Spanish. As soon as I wake up in the morning, I do my Spanish. I go to the bathroom and do that stuff. But then I do like 20 to 30 minutes of Spanish every single morning. First thing I do, it gets my brain, working on so many different levels. And I don't need coffee. I prefer not to have coffee before I meditate, because after I do Spanish, I go and meditate. And it's just, it's a very natural feeling, but I'm very awake immediately. And then I'm very aware when I'm meditating of what's going on, because my brain is snapping like this. So before that, I was no, actually, I stopped drinking coffee before my meditation, before I moved down here. But still, I went right from there to then having to drink coffee. And because the meditation would drain me a bit. That's what it felt like. So then I thought I needed the coffee. So that's why I had to give it up. I gave up TV. I gave up the news. I gave up, eating foods. Remember when I said in the weight loss episode, 30 days, I lost 30 pounds from just cutting out sugary drinks. That was a form of doing what I'm doing now, actively, purposely, with everything, than I was back then. I'll give up anything that I feel I get chained to at all. If I feel that the podcast is chaining me too much, I'll give it up for a time and see if it comes back to me or not. Because it's a very good practice to have, because we don't want things to have our identity. We don't want to identify with things. If somebody who is a tea drinker starts talking badly about coffee, and you're a coffee drinker, you're going to be offended when they talk badly about coffee, and you might not be open to what they have to say about the bad health effects that coffee has on you, because you identify with it, and you're like, if I'm doing it, it's okay, because that's what we tell ourselves, our ego. So you have to remove that identification by not letting it control you. Don't identify with it. I don't identify with anything. I barely identify with my name and my body. That sounds that'll probably sound odd to people. But once you get to a certain point, it's like there's no more going back to being an egotistical maniac. It's just, you just let it go. And how do you do that? You get your identity back by releasing all these different addictions that we have. Everything is an addiction. And I don't want anyone who has a heroin or crack or meth or any kind of addiction at all, gambling, sex, all of that, porn, all that they're real addictions. And I'm not trying to belittle you by highlighting that everything is an addiction. It's the same mindset that goes into all of them. So that's, your symptom is heroin, your symptom is gambling, your symptom is I said this on the Wrong Warp with Ketsuban. I said meditation is that as well. It's escapism. It's addictions that we do. We allow these things to control us. There were times, and I haven't actually given up meditation as a practice to see what that's like, but that's something that I might consider doing. because it's something that I am kind of beholden to every single morning. But it's I've come to learn that if I don't meditate in the morning, then my day goes very poorly. So actually, I wake up 2.5 hours before work in order to meditate. So, you know, that's an addiction right there. It's escapism. Now, it is it for beneficial reasons? Yes, it could be. Some people could look at it as that I'm addicted to it because I am, because it's all the same. Now, is it harming me in any way or harming anyone else? No. Is it something that's trying to better myself? In my eyes, yes, it is. And I am willing to sacrifice sleep for it. That's no problem for me to do because I feel that I need it, which is an addiction. So, I should probably try to see what that's about. Maybe meditate at night. I don't know. Change it up. Or maybe not meditate at all. I don't know. I haven't even thought of that before. Just saying it right now. So those things I'll look into because they're addictions, just like anything else. And I was addicted to getting high. So let me bring it back to getting high. So anyone who's listening who is an addict or was an addict or thinks that they are an addict, but they're not currently using. So that whole spiel that NA and AA say that you're always going to be an addict, it's semi-correct, but only if you believe it. You're, like I said, everything you do is an addiction. Your entire existence is an addiction. You're addicted to being an individual who, so you do everything you can to keep yourself alive. You're addicted to keeping yourself alive. That's an addiction. It's odd to think of it that way, but it's the same mindset. It's the need to do something. You do everything around this one thing. That's literally your entire life. So when you're doing drugs and you let the drugs run your life for a while, and then you get out, and then you start going to places that are telling you you're always going to be an addict. You're not good enough on your own. You need to come to these support groups. That's nonsense. You really don't need anyone for anything. You don't. It's very hard to comprehend because there's so many different aspects of life. But once you start pulling your identity back by releasing your addictions, then you can start getting all the information yourself, all the information that you need. And it's not necessarily the internet, but it is the internet. But it's so many more things than that. It's not that you don't need other people. That's not what I'm saying. Because you learn from other people, but you can learn from watching other people, and you learn from watching their mistakes, and learn from watching where they're better than you at your life, at certain aspects of your life. If you're into exercising and you can't lose the last 10 pounds that you want to lose, you're going to then go to someone who can, or maybe you're not. Maybe you're going to compete against someone. So say someone's at the gym and you're like, man, I want to be bigger and stronger than that guy. Are you going to do the things that he's doing, or are you going to try to think that you have a better way and do it your way? Are you going to give up your way? Are you addicted to feeding your ego and saying you can be better? Or are you just going to, all right, see if there's something better. Let's change it up. Okay, I forget how I even got there. But, So when they're telling you these things, it's because they want you to keep coming back. It's they want you in a mindset that keeps you down. And it's not saying that the people doing it, the people that are there, the counselors, are necessarily trying to keep you down. It's the literature that they were taught. They're real people that are really trying to help. It's the literature that. So when I say they, what I'm referring to, in this sense, or in any conspiratorial sense, the they is the system that's in place. It's not necessarily the individuals. It's the system is always bigger than the individual, and it's always the they. You know, the, that's who the they is that is running things. It's an uh, but it's a system. It's not necessarily, you're not purposely, humanity doesn't necessarily think that humanity is the evil one when they do things. People typically do things because they think it's the right thing to do. It's they're being misled is the issue. A human leader who leads them into what they think is the right thing, but in reality, in totality, is the wrong thing. When you can have a more grand view of a situation, the Nazi Germany, the citizens of Germany thought they were doing the right thing. They thought they were doing the right thing. They thought they were good people, that they were turning in their Jewish neighbors. They didn't think that they were evil. They weren't like trying to do wicked things. They thought that was the right thing because of their leaders misled them, the system. And the system is always in place, and the system transcends any individual. It's individuals and their lives, and the corporation that is the United States of America is what is 350 years old, right? Or no, I mean 250 years old. I'm sorry. It's larger than President Trump or President Biden or President Obama or President Bush, any of them. It's the entire system. So when I say they, in the terms of AA and NA keeping people down, it's the literature. There used to be a 13th step from the guy who originally created it. And the 13th step was a psychedelic trip, guided in order to heal your traumas and wounds. That was taken out. And they tell you that you're always going to be an addict. Now, if you know anything about your, what are they called? I can't even think of the word. And I was listening to a podcast about them today. But when you tell yourself good things over and over, so you rewire your brain to think in a more positive way. And it takes practice, but you can rewire. You just say these same things over to yourself in a positive way. So if you're doing it in a negative way, what's going to happen? What happens when you speak to a plant negatively? There's experiments on YouTube where people talk to glasses of water in a negative way and a positive way. Experiments, not just like someone faking a video. Maybe it is fake. I don't know. Who am I to say? But there's different experiments that you could do to talk to plants and water in a positive way or a negative way. And you can see what happens, right? So when you tell yourself you're always going to be an addict over and over, what's going to happen? You're always going to be an addict. If you keep going to the meetings. If you become addicted to meetings and if you don't get a meeting, you're going to get high, the meeting's just replacing the drug. So just, the answer is not that. That's a physical answer to a spiritual, emotional, and mental issue. There's a trauma in there that you're covering up, that you're running from. In the beginning, I said that turns out I was running from the truth in my addictions. I was hiding from the truth in my addictions because I didn't want to face the reality of who I was and what had happened to me. And I spent my life running from that, running from the truth. And now I am immersed in truth. And it doesn't matter to me what anyone thinks of me at all, which is why I lay it all out there. I'm not someone who is looking for individual praise. That's why my podcast isn't going to be about me eventually, it's my story, but I'm laying my story out so that I can help other people, and then I can talk to other people that can further help other people. So, that's what this is all about. I'm not looking, and there's a lot of different things about me, aspects that I haven't mentioned yet. And you can learn some of that stuff if you follow me on social media, or if you hear me on other podcasts. There are other things that I could have a podcast about, that I think I could have a podcast about, that I could talk about, that I'll get into a little bit. But there are people who have a whole podcast on doing their channelings, or teaching people how to meditate, or all sorts of things. But to use their psychic abilities and psychic gifts. There are lots of shows about that, right? But I'm not doing that because this isn't about me. So when I'm telling you that everything you do is an addiction, it's because that's the truth. I don't pussyfoot around. I don't bullshit anyone ever for any reason anymore. Speaking the truth has saved my life in many, many ways. And it's because I was addicted to lies. I was addicted to being in a fake reality where I was a good person. And not just that I was a good person, but that whole fake reality of a non-spiritual world that I existed in for 28, almost 29 years or so, whatever it was. There's a paradigm shift when you overcome things. When you overcome a lot of things, and I'm not bragging about this, I'm not proud that I had so many issues, but I have overcome so many different things that I was addicted to because I had so many issues. It's not a thing you want to hang on your wall, but it is me. It's what I was. It's who I was. There's no running from it. There's no, like I was saying in the last episode, there's no hold off until the next stage of getting to know me. Then I'll tell you. No, I'll tell you. Google search me. You'll see my crimes. Just type in my name. It's whatever. I mean, I'm not proud of it, obviously. I had a lot of shame and guilt and all around it, but I'm not afraid of it. I'm not addicted to keeping it in the dark. I don't care. It's the truth. I care that I did bad things, and I care that I was identifying with something so strongly to take my mind away that it almost killed me, and it did a lot of damage to a lot of people, my actions. And I care about that deeply, which is why I've changed my life for it. It's man. All right. So how can you, when you're an addict right now, you're addicted to your drug of choice. Okay, you're addicted to social media, you're addicted to heroin, you're addicted to alcohol, whatever. How can you stop doing it today? Or, yeah, not tomorrow. Stop doing it right now. All right, let's get to that part. How did I stop? Well, I stopped because I was forced to, because I went to jail, right? But how did I never go back to it? Now, I was addicted for 10 years, and it was a heavy addiction. I take 10 to 12. At one point, I was taking 10 to 12 30 milligram Percocets per day, 300 to 360 milligrams of Percocet per day. Yeah, that's a lot. I couldn't take tens because they had Tylenol in them, and it was just way too much. So I had to do 15s or 30s, but sometimes I could get the small pink tens that didn't have Tylenol in them, but they were only when I couldn't get 30s and 15s. Oh man, so that was probably a good year or so that I was doing that many of those. So I was a full-blown addict, and this whole time, I'm smoking cigarettes, I'm out of shape, I'm just like the worst person in the world, to me. I was awful. I was just awful. So how did I get out of that world? So I go to jail, and I was still an addict until the 91st day in jail when I prayed to God and I asked God for forgiveness. And ever since that day, I've been on this path of enlightenment. And it starts out slow. And it depends on how much trauma you got, really. But I had a lot. So I was chained down by so many things. Anger was a huge one. I was so addicted to being angry. I was angry about everything, complaining. I was addicted to complaining, and I was, pretty funny, and I could be sarcastic. So I got addicted to getting laughs that way, at work, at life, everywhere. It didn't matter. Little by little, ever since I prayed to God, God has been chipping away all of my addictions. Okay, that was 6 years ago. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, 6 years and like almost 5 months. No, I'm sorry, almost 3 months. So 6.25 years. And my life has been so miraculous ever since I prayed. So how can you stop? Well, first, you can be sincere that you want to stop. And you need to hold on to that sincerity. You need to really want to stop. There's no, like, I want to stop now, but, maybe I'll go back in the future. You're only going to stop when you want to stop. You're going to play in the devil's playground until God calls you home. Now, sometimes we get called home through death, or sometimes we can go home while alive. Which calling do you want to follow? If you really want to be sober, if you really want anything, if uh, if you really want to stop yourself from doing anything, you can do it. You have the mind power. You have the willpower to do it. You really need to want it. So what you do is you ask for forgiveness and you start forgiving. You don't necessarily need to speak to anyone else other than yourself and God. You are God. So God can hear you through you when you just think it. And you're not the almighty God, no, but you are a piece of God. Just like if you were to take a whole ball of cotton and pull a little piece off, that little piece is cotton, that whole ball is cotton. They're both cotton. This is God, this is you, this is God, both of them. Okay? And I know you probably couldn't see my hands there, but whatever. You are God, but you're not the almighty God. You are just an aspect of God. You are a set of eyes for God. You have taste buds for God. It's all for God. It's all God. God is everything. That's what God means to me, is the life force of everything. And when you ask the life force of everything to help you and take out this thing that we call addiction, which has its own portion of the life force, then that life force will start to leave you if you ask it to leave. If you start asking God to help you and you start asking the negative things in your life to leave you, that will happen. If I could go back right now and talk to my 24-year-old self just before the burglaries occurred, when I'm down at my lowest, if I could go back and talk to him, how could I get this information through to the mind of someone who is trapped in his own worry and thought? You can't, because he doesn't want it. There's no way I could have ever gone through. Nobody could have ever gone through to me. I had to experience it. That's the same with everybody. I hear people often say, if I could go back and tell myself this, I wouldn't have done that. Nope. Nobody can tell you nothing. Doesn't matter. People tell you things all the time, and you just keep in your mind what you want to keep. Doesn't matter that I was told as a kid about the DARE program. That didn't mean shit. I was told a lot of things. What I had to experience it. It doesn't matter what you're told. I can tell you guys all about spiritual awakening and this long story, which I will get to. But it doesn't mean anything to someone who's in the matrix. It means nothing. They can't relate at all. They don't want it. They need to experience their own awakening. And that's the hardest part. That's the addiction that I struggled with this last year. The addiction of waking people up. And boy, did I struggle with it. We'll get to that point in another episode. But I'll touch on a little bit here. Man, that last year, trying to wake people up because I want them to experience the wonderful things I've experienced. And I hear a lot of people talking about this nowadays is, man, it's so crazy. Why did we think it would work that way? But it was like, it's so obvious that we were driven to do those types of things from the mainstream media and the QAnon psyop that worked both ways of the fence. It pushed the mainstream media conspiracy theorists uh, into further uh, stronghold into their belief, and it pushed all the conspiracy theorists into one corner pretty much, and we were relying on a politician to do the job of humanity or God, which is the same thing, I guess. But we were looking for a politician. And I didn't ever like Trump because I was in the Matrix. But I liked about the that he was stopping human trafficking. That I was a very big proponent of his for that reason, because the numbers of arrests went sky high in his presidency, and I was uh, into doing the Save the Children marches last year in the summer, a couple here in Savannah, and uh, you know, here I'm very passionate about it because of my trauma that I talked about in episode 5. And at that time, that wasn't even registering to me. It's just these last few days that I've realized, that's why it was so important to me. And it became an addiction. And then people are telling me that it's a conspiracy theory, or it's that this doesn't happen, that it's fake. The news is saying it's fake. It doesn't happen. Kids aren't. And I'm like, what? I gotta tell you, I'm not gonna say what it is, but a few nights after I release episode 5, I'm laying down to go to sleep, and uh, like I said, I meditate all the time, so I have these spiritual gifts, is how I look at it, gifts from God. And when I lay down to go to sleep, I am in the spirit world, and I don't have to dream. I'm just there. I hear and I see, and it's amazing. And it's not anything weird. It's just where we go when we go to sleep. I just don't need to fully be asleep to go there, because I practice staying awake and going there every single day through meditation. So when I'm going to sleep, uh, I give myself over to it more, because obviously I'm tired, and I get into that state much easier. What's it called? The theta state. So I get into that world much easier. And 2 or 3 days after I did that episode, I had these horrible, horrible, horrible visions of what occurred to my friend, that made him think that it was okay, or gave him the idea to do what he did to me and others. I saw several incidents, and I'm not going to mention them. I'm not going to say that in public, what I saw. But I will tell you, it was horrible. And not only that, but then it made other things in my life then make sense, that happened around my friend and his family. Everything just made sense from that point on, because he was molested. And I mentioned in the show, I said, at some point, I said, I don't know what happened to him. something along those lines. And then I guess, as the energy was clearing, so it was, and I can't say too much because things will be given away if I say too much. But I'll just say that that energy was still lingering. That energy did not cross over to the other side until I spoke that, at least for me, that energy was still there, still accessible. And I released that energy from that individual, I feel, as well as myself. I'm sorry. Just thinking. But it was still there, and I had to let it all out. It was in the attic. And I had to just open the doors and just let it out. And that individual is now at rest, at peace, because that energy is taken care of. And it must have been a horrifying experience. And I was shown that. Several incidents, not just one, several. I was shown it. So I forget why. It was about. No, I forget why I got here. But I just said that it was in the attic. That's why I titled this episode "Addict." There's an addict in the attic. Because our houses are ourselves, our heads, our minds. Our bedrooms are the holy of holies, right here. This is heaven in between the two temples. Heaven. That's heaven. For real, on everybody. That is heaven. And that's the holy of holies. Your bedroom is your holy sanctuary. And you have different areas of your house that align accordingly, as above, so below, with everything. Your house is your brain. And when you have an addict in your attic, you have an addict living in your home, in your head. Well, what do you think is going to happen? You're going to give in to the addictions. If you're hanging around someone who smokes and you smoke, are you going to be able to quit if you hang around that person that smokes? If you're going to a crack house to smoke crack and you want to get clean, do you think going to that crack house is a good idea? So if you're an addict and you really want to get clean, get the fuck away from the people you're with. Leave them. It's that simple. It starts there. If you want to be clean, then get away from them. It ain't hard. It's the dumbest shit ever that people think that they can not be an addict by hanging out around other addicts. What sense does that make? I did benefit from groups, and you do benefit from groups, being around groups of people who want to be clean, former addicts. But being around people who are not doing well is a recipe for failure. It's the simplest concept you could ever think of. If you're going around people who have drugs, you are not going to want to stop drugs. If you're a gambling addict and you're going to the casino with some friends, you're going to gamble. If you're calling a prostitute and you're a sex addict, you're going to have sex. Stop doing the things that are making you an addict. Take back control of yourself for once. It's that simple. And people say to me, I tell people these things, and they say to me, it's like, oh, well, you just think it's easy. No, I know it's that easy because it's all just an illusion. This whole thing is an illusion. Everything is an addiction. And it's just your mindset of how much control you give over to a certain topic, a certain part of you. If you were giving yourself, if you're doing everything for Percocet, well, then stop doing shit for Percocet. And yeah, there's going to be feelings of like, yeah, I want to go do it, but hold discipline. And it's a learned thing. And you can't do it alone. So pray to God. Ask the energies of addiction to leave you. Ask God to remove the negative things from your life. Watch your friends disappear from your life in whatever fashion that is. If you're an addict and you're hearing this right now, you need to wake up and strengthen your mind. It's that simple. Yes, you have traumas and you need to address the traumas. But how are you going to address the traumas when you're always running from the truth? You need to face yourself in the mirror and be honest with everything. It's called your conscience. You have a guilty conscience. You have that little voice in your head that tells you the right and wrong thing, or not the wrong thing, but whether that is something you should do or not. It tells you, I don't know, you shouldn't do that. It's your intuition. Say, that's not a good idea. You're like, fuck you, I'm gonna do it anyway. The dogs are going crazy. I know they have been the whole episode. That's nothing I can do about it. Whatever. It is what it is right now. It'll become better at some point. But for now, this is what we deal with. So anyway, if you need help with addiction, I am more than willing to, if anyone wants to conversate, you can hit me up and I can give you some tips on how I stopped. But that is it, is I prayed to God and I kept praying to God and my life kept getting better. And I finally said no to everything else. Hold on a second. All right, I'm back. It was the UPS guy was delivering package. And actually, I didn't check what it was, but it might be my new monitor because they sent me a broken monitor. The company, I don't know if they sent it broken, but it arrived broken. And I've been using it. And they wanted me to send back this one before I got the new one. And I was like, how am I, like, I need it until, I get the new one. So it's, might be here now, but, should have been here days ago. But they didn't even tell me anything. Whatever, it's a whole thing. So anyway, back to what I was saying. If you're an addict, you just need to have the mindset that your thoughts are ultra powerful. You have the ability to stop doing anything that you are doing just by simply stopping it. You don't need to do anything. And if you want to put yourself in a better position, you're not going to hang around the people who are making the same bad decisions. The people who are putting you back in that place. You're not, if you really want to get clean, you're going to have to go through whatever it is that you need to go through. You need to go through your trauma. You can learn how to meditate, and you can learn how to clear all that stuff away. Or maybe talk therapy works best for you. And you need to start a podcast, or you need to go to a group, or you need your own personal therapist, or you need to talk to your spouse, or whatever. There are so many different options. People are willing to help. And even when no one externally is there for you, internally, God is always there. But when we lose the internal battle, we're not asking God in that moment to help us. We're thinking we can do it on our own. And it's all you have to do is ask God. You can pray it away. Ask God to take away the negative thoughts. Ask the negative thoughts themselves to leave you alone. Now, some you'll have to be more forceful with. They might be, at some point, something might be so negative that it's a demon. And, everyone has their own definition of demon. I'll just say my definition of a demon is a negative energy that is strong enough to build in unto itself, so that it's such a strong force that it starts to affect things outside of itself. So, we give life to things. So say we start giving life to our Percocet addiction, and it starts to affect me to a point that I start affecting other people, right? So I don't just mean something early on. Like, this is something that has to develop after a long time. Then, like, I get a girlfriend, and now she is with me. That is now in control of her as well. That's a demon now, because it is controlling the both of us through me. That's a negative energy. This addiction is put you two together to, feed the addiction more and more, because it is something that exists outside of you now. It is so powerful that it's puppet master to two individuals. And then maybe, you have some friends, and now maybe your house turns into a flop house and you have 6 people over there. And now it's like this big orb of dirty consciousness that is controlling all these little puppets. That's a demon. So that's my definition of a demon. That's how I view it. I don't view it as some little gargoyle type creature. So if I ever use the word demon, that's what it means to me. So you gotta ask the negative energy to leave you, and you gotta ask God to help, because that is truly the only thing that helps. There's so many other things you can do. And like I said, exercise, everything I do on this podcast, talk about, is my life. That is how I've gotten over all of my addictions and traumas. So, if I'm not leaving out any parts that are important that you should be doing or knowing, that, any secrets I'm keeping, I'm not selling secrets somewhere on the side. This is everything. This is how you do it all. It just takes a while. You have to be dedicated and disciplined, and you just have to do it. And you have to have the belief that in yourself. You have to have the belief that you can do it. But it's also never just on you. God is always in there. You just have to ask. Call God in, and you'll see the difference that it makes in your life. That is the secret. That's the higher power. And it doesn't matter what, at this stage of your life, what you call God. Okay, God to me is everything, is the life force of everything, the source, creator, whatever you want to define it as. It is God, is one way to describe it. So often you will hear me use the term God because that's my noun of choice to describe that which cannot be explained. The name of uh, everything. It's God. Call God in. Call in source. Call in creator. Ask for help. Treat yourself better. That's ultimately what it is that you think these little pleasures, little times of pleasure, are more important than everything else because everything else isn't stimulating you immediately. Everything else is so much better. It's not even close. The opposite of being addicted to drugs is being addicted to God. Maybe not the opposite. Well, I guess so. I don't think anyone who's ever been addicted to God has, you know, has done anything bad. I don't think you can overdose on God. I mean, maybe they do in the name of God, yeah, actually, because they're being controlled by something that's evil. It's just giving them, you know, bits and pieces of information, but ultimately isn't giving the whole truth. Gives half truths. That's why, I come out and give my whole truth. Things that I never even told. My girlfriend, the first time she ever heard anything about episode 5 was when she heard episode 5 for the first time. So it's not like, and I'm the most honest person that you'd probably meet, but that was something that I didn't tell anybody. So, I'm more truthful than I should be. But it's because I can't lie, because lies are a frequency that I don't vibrate at any longer. So when you hear me speak in definitives the way I do sometimes, or how I'll seem very confident when I say, it's because I know it is true. Now maybe something will change in the future that maybe makes it less true or untrue completely for me. But as I completely know it at the time of saying it, it is the truth. Because if it is a lie to me, then I won't be able, because my conscience will tell me, nope, 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 you can't do, nope, you can't do it. Don't do that. Does it all the time. I have this energy that sits on my crown chakra right here. That's kind of like uses my brain as a keyboard, but instead of letters and numbers and space bars, it's just feelings and generalities. So uh, I guess it produces frequencies within my brain, I guess, is what is ultimately happening. And if I'm lying, it produces this frequency that I can't stand. Or if I'm doing something wrong, it's strong to the point that I pick up trash often. And I'll get into the benefits of that in another episode. Actually, next episode, I might be doing that. I'm excited. I already got this in number 9 before April, and I started this, I think April 12th was the first time I recorded. So it's what, 20, not even 20, 18 days later. So, 2.5 weeks later, I already got 9 episodes out. So, or well, this one, it's at least recorded. I'll try to put it out tonight, maybe tomorrow. But it's exciting stuff here. and I'm trying to make content as much as I can. And once I start interviewing people, I don't know how it's going to change, but the format of the show will change a little bit, and I'll come to learn things as well on how to better myself with everything. How to better the video, the audio, how to make a little intro. All sorts of stuff will come in due time. I'll learn, like I've learned everything. I learn by trial by fire. I do things, and then if they don't work, then I change it. And if it does work, then I stick with it until I find something better, and then I change it. That's how I do everything. And that's how I've freed myself from addiction. So if you are a former addict or any other issues that you might have come over, that you've overcome. I'm sorry, not come over. If you've overcome anything, give me an email at thegreatchakraawakening777@gmail.com. It's in the corner for anyone watching the video, right down here. greatchakraawakening777@gmail.com. Give me a email and share your story. Help other people, talk. People hearing relatable stories is what helps people. It gives them motivation and inspires them and gives them courage, because it's hard to do things when you think you're the only one. When you're alone, it's hard to stick up for yourself when you're in a crowd, when it appears that there's an opposing force. It's scary and it's hard, and you don't ever want to think you're alone. So that's why we share our stories. And we never really are alone. We aren't. So you just got to ask God for help if you need it. So go ahead and give me an email, share your story. You can send me an email and I'll just read off the email, quick little story, or maybe, we can email, maybe if you need assistance or whatever, send me an email, send me a Facebook, Twitter, whatever. I'm accessible. I'm not some person who's thinks I'm better than anybody, because I've been through everything, so I can relate to anything. And it's very hard to get everything that I want to say out in a short 1 hour thing. So if you have more questions and want to ask other things, hit me up. So you can the Facebook. So you can go to the website, and everything's on the website. So the website is thegreatchakraawakening777.podbean.com or tinyurl.com/goodness-over-darkness. And the links will all be in the bio information, just show notes, as they say. These dogs are just going crazy. It's ridiculous. But anyway, send me an email on Facebook. I have the Facebook page is the same as the podcast, Godcast, the Goodness Over Darkness podcast. I have the Facebook group, which is for anyone to start talking about. Same name. They're linked together. Godcast, the Goodness Over Darkness podcast. I have a YouTube, same name, which the YouTube does have another video on there right now, and will have more other videos on there in the future. But the only video of me is usually on Facebook now, because Podbean automatically uploads to YouTube. and it just creates a video link rather. So it's just you watching the play button just sitting there. It's a little embedded player. That's all it has on there. So whatever. I think there's 2 episodes. I mean, I guess I could just load up separately, load up the video. I might do that, but I might just leave it on Facebook. So that's a Facebook page exclusive. Just the live recordings, which this is live recording on Facebook right now for anyone who doesn't know. Let me see if anyone commented or anything. I don't think so. I don't even know how to check that, honestly. So, like I said, I don't have any technical know-how. As you can see, I'm not just going live for now on when I'm by myself. Live recordings on the Facebook page. And those just happen whenever I get time because my job, my schedule is kind of leaves me getting home from work or waking up for work at different times every single day. So, that's that. But that's an addiction I broke because I used to have to get up at the same time and go to work at the same time every day. And, God broke that addiction for me. It shook me up. Sometimes, last week I didn't work on Friday and worked on Saturday. It's like, whoa. It's like, what's going on in this world? Yeah, so the website has everything on there, and I'm going to get the Twitter linked on there as well. So Twitter, new Twitter page is @GreatChakra. That's what was given to me after I typed in the Great Chakra Awakening 777. So they gave me @GreatChakra. You can follow me on there. I'll be tweeting. I can, I'll be tweeting some stuff out there to promote the show as well. But just regular tweets. I'm not going to have an individual Twitter. That will just be my Twitter account. And yeah, so I got the Twitter. I do have an Instagram, but I don't do anything on there at all. Like I just get notifications on it. I'm following 2 people on it. Just, I don't even know why. I don't use it. But I created it in order to reach out to Amy Belair to do her podcast, Third Eye Awakening, originally. And it's because I had no social media. And I was like, and she was like, oh yeah, I'm easiest to reach on Instagram. So I created the Instagram to send her a message. I've had it on, but I don't use it. But I think it's the Great Chakra Awakening or the Great Chakra Awakening 777. I don't know. I'm not even promoting that because I don't care for pictures of myself, which we'll get into in the next episode, where we will discuss getting to the 0 point, getting to be balanced, that mirror effect on our lives. It'll be pretty cool. And we'll just, I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to get into everything, but it's going to be a good one. I can already feel it. So, yeah, if you guys want to get in touch with me, go ahead. Otherwise, you have a good day, and I will see you next time. Bye.